My son-in-law convinced my daughter to put me in a nursing home at 70 years old. Then he started selling my 5 properties worth over $4 million. He thought I was a senile old man who had forgotten everything about the law. He thought I was helpless, powerless, done. He was wrong. I'm Judge William Harrison, retired, 40 years on the bench in family court. I still remember every statute, every precedent, every legal maneuver, and I still have connections throughout the entire legal system. The day I discovered what Marcus was doing, I made one phone call to my former law clerk, who is now a senior partner at the biggest firm in the state. "Start the paperwork," I told her. "I'm getting out of here and I'm taking everything back. My name is William Harrison. I want you to know that before we go any further. I'm glad you're here. If this story resonates with you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to tell you is about family betrayal, elder exploitation, and how a retired judge used 40 years of legal knowledge to destroy the man who tried to steal everything I had built. He thought he could outsmart me. He was very, very wrong. Let me take you back to where this all started. 18 months ago. I was living in my home in Scottsdale, Arizona. The house I had bought 35 years ago when I was first appointed to the bench. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, swimming pool, mountain views, paid off, worth about $1.2 million. I also owned 4 rental properties, 3 houses and 1 small apartment building, all paid off, all generating steady income. My total real estate portfolio was worth approximately $4.3 million. I had worked my entire life for this. 40 years as a family court judge. 40 years making $70,000 a year, never getting rich, but saving carefully and investing in real estate. My wife Margaret and I had built this together. She died 6 years ago from a stroke. After she passed, I continued living alone in our house. I was 70 years old, sharp as ever. I played tennis 3 times a week. I volunteered at the law school mentoring young attorneys. I managed my rental properties myself, collected rent, handled repairs, kept the books. I was completely independent, completely capable. Then my daughter Sarah started visiting more often. Sarah is my only child, 42 years old. Married to Marcus Webb for 8 years, Marcus was a financial advisor, or at least that's what he called himself. He worked for a small investment firm in Phoenix, mid-level position, nothing impressive. But he dressed well, drove a nice car, always talking about his clients and their portfolios. I never liked him. From the moment Sarah brought him home 10 years ago, something felt off. He smiled too much. That salesman smile that never quite reached his eyes. He asked too many questions about my properties, about my finances, about my estate planning. What's the house worth, William? Are the rentals fully paid off? Do you have a trust set up? Who's the executor of your estate? At first, I thought he was just making conversation, trying to connect with his future father-in-law, but the questions kept coming. Every visit, every family dinner, always circling back to money, to assets, to what I owned, and what would happen when I died. I mentioned it to Margaret once. She told me I was being too suspicious, that Marcus was just interested in finance, because that was his profession, that I should give him a chance. So I did. That was my first mistake. I performed Sarah and Marcus's wedding ceremony 8 years ago. As a family court judge, I had the authority to officiate. It was a beautiful day. Sarah was radiant. Marcus seemed genuinely happy. I gave a speech at the reception about love and commitment and building a life together. About how Margaret and I had built our lives brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. About the importance of patience and sacrifice. Marcus listened to every word. I thought he was being respectful. Later, I realized he was taking notes. After the wedding, the questions became more pointed. Have you thought about what happens if you get sick, William? Do you have long-term care insurance? What if you can't manage the properties anymore? Wouldn't it be easier to sell them and simplify your life? I told him I wasn't planning on getting sick or dying anytime soon. I told him I was perfectly capable of managing my properties. But he persisted. Always with that concerned smile, always framing it as worry for my well-being. Sarah started echoing his concerns. Dad, maybe Marcus is right. You're getting older. Those properties are a lot of work. Maybe you should think about downsizing. I should have seen it then, the way Marcus was using my own daughter to manipulate me. But I didn't want to believe my son-in-law was that calculating. I didn't want to believe my daughter could be so easily influenced. So I ignored the warning signs. That was my second mistake. The visits increased. Sarah would come by twice a week. She started asking strange questions. Dad, are you taking your medications? Dad, did you forget to pay the water bill? Dad, you left the stove on again. None of it was true. I took my medications every morning with breakfast. My bills were on auto pay, and had been for years. I never left the stove on. But Sarah kept insisting I was having memory problems. She brought it up constantly. Marcus would join these conversations, his face full of fake concern. William, he would say, we're just worried about you, living alone at your age. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency? We think it might be time to consider assisted living, just for safety. I told them I was fine. I told them I was perfectly capable of living independently, but they wouldn't stop. The pressure built over months. Sarah called me every day, stopped by unannounced, started talking to my neighbors, suggesting I was declining. She even called my doctor's office asking about cognitive tests. I didn't know any of this at the time. I found out later, much later. Then came the incident. I came home from playing tennis one afternoon. Sarah and Marcus were in my house. They had a key that Margaret had given Sarah years ago for emergencies. Sarah was crying. Dad, she said, we found you wandering around the neighborhood this morning. You didn't know where you were. We had to bring you home. This never happened. I had been at the tennis courts all morning. I had witnesses. But Sarah insisted it had happened. Marcus backed her up. They said they were terrified I would hurt myself, that I was a danger to myself and others. I tried to explain, tried to tell them they were mistaken or lying. But Sarah was hysterical, begging me to just consider a nice facility, just temporarily, just until we figure out what's going on with your memory, Dad. Please. I love you. I don't want anything to happen to you. I made my second mistake. I agreed to visit a facility, just to ease Sarah's concerns. The place was called Riverside Senior Living. Expensive, luxury accommodations, private rooms, gourmet meals, activities. The director gave us a tour. Sarah was enthusiastic. Look how nice it is, Dad. You'd have friends, activities, 24-hour medical care. What do you think? I said I would think about it. That was on a Tuesday. On Friday, Sarah and Marcus showed up at my house with a moving truck. What are you doing? I asked. We're moving you to Riverside, Sarah said. We already signed the paperwork. Your room is ready. I refused. I said I never agreed to move, that I was staying in my home. Marcus pulled out documents. You signed the admission papers when we toured the facility, he said. Right here. He showed me a signature that looked vaguely like mine on an admission agreement. I had signed something that day. The tour guide had asked me to sign in on a visitor log. But this wasn't a visitor log. This was an admission agreement and power of attorney documents. I had been tricked. I'm not going, I said. You can't make me. Then Sarah started crying again, sobbing. Dad, please, you're scaring me. You're not thinking clearly. Marcus says this is what's best. The doctor agrees. We're doing this because we love you. What doctor? I demanded. I haven't seen a doctor. Dr. Richardson, Sarah said. Your primary care physician. He's very concerned about your cognitive decline." This was a lie. I called Dr. Richardson later, and he said he never told Sarah any such thing. But in that moment, with Sarah crying and Marcus looking stern and serious, I felt confused, outnumbered. Maybe I was losing my memory. Maybe I had been wandering. Maybe I was wrong. This is what they wanted me to think. This is how elder abuse works. They make you doubt yourself. They make you feel crazy. They isolate you. I let them take me to Riverside. I moved in that day with one suitcase of clothes. Sarah promised she would bring the rest of my things. She promised this was temporary. Just until we get you evaluated and make sure you're okay, Dad. I love you. I hugged her. I trusted her. That was my biggest mistake. The first week at Riverside was disorienting, humiliating, degrading. The staff was kind, but treated me like I was fragile, confused, a child who couldn't be trusted with basic tasks. They called me Mr. Harrison in that slow, loud voice people use with toddlers or people they think are senile. Every word carefully enunciated, every sentence simplified. How are we feeling today, Mr. Harrison? Did we take our medicine? Do we need help getting dressed? We. As if I were an infant who couldn't speak for myself. They monitored my medications, even though I had been taking the same medications for years without problems. Blood pressure pills, cholesterol medication. Nothing complicated. But every morning at 8 a.m., a nurse would come to my room with a small paper cup of pills and a glass of water. She would watch me take them, watch me swallow, check my mouth to make sure I had actually swallowed them, like I was a psychiatric patient who might hide pills under my tongue. They had activities. Bingo on Monday afternoons, puzzle time on Wednesday mornings, chair exercises on Fridays, sing-alongs, movie nights featuring films from the 1950s, craft time where residents made construction paper decorations like kindergarteners. I didn't participate. I refused. I stayed in my room reading legal journals and law reviews and trying to figure out what had just happened to my life. How I had gone from an independent man managing a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio to a prisoner in a facility where the highlight of the day was ice cream social at 3 p.m. The other residents tried to befriend me at first. Nice man named George, who had actually been a high school principal before Alzheimer's took his mind. Sweet woman named Dorothy, who told the same stories about her grandchildren over and over because she couldn't remember she had already told them. These were people who actually needed to be in a facility. People who couldn't care for themselves. People whose families had made heartbreaking but necessary decisions. I didn't belong here. And yet here I was. Trapped. Every day felt like an eternity. I would wake up at 6 a.m., my usual time, and have nowhere to go. Nothing to do. No properties to check on. No tenants to call. No repairs to schedule. No tennis games to play. No law school students to mentor. My entire life had been taken from me and replaced with nothing. With waiting. With sitting. With existing, but not living. At meals, they served us at assigned tables. I was seated with George and Dorothy and a quiet woman named Helen, who never spoke to anyone. The food was fine. Institutional, but fine. But I didn't want fine food. In a dining room with 30 other elderly people being supervised by staff members who called us by our first names without permission and clapped their hands to get our attention like we were in daycare. I wanted to eat in my own kitchen, make my own food, control my own life. But I couldn't. I called Sarah every day. "When can I go home?" I would ask. "Soon, Dad. We're just getting everything sorted out. Let's give it a few more weeks. Marcus is helping handle your properties while you're there." "Don't worry about anything. Marcus is handling my properties. This should have alarmed me immediately. But I was still in shock from the move. Still doubting myself. Still thinking this was temporary. After 2 weeks, I asked to speak to the director. "I want to leave," I told her. "I want to go back to my house." "Do you have transportation?" she asked. "Well, no. Can you call me a taxi?" "I can," she said. "But Mr. Harrison, your daughter has medical power of attorney. She's asked us to keep you here for evaluation." "I don't need evaluation," I said. "I'm a retired judge. I'm completely competent." "I understand," she said in that patronizing voice. "But we have to follow the family's instructions. You're not a prisoner here, but we can't allow you to leave against medical advice. I wasn't a prisoner, but I also couldn't leave." This is when I started to understand what was really happening. This wasn't about my safety or my health. This was about control and money. I started making phone calls. I called my bank. I wanted to check my accounts. Access denied. The accounts had been frozen pending competency evaluation. I called the property management company I used for my rentals. They told me Marcus Webb had contacted them. He had power of attorney and was taking over management of the properties. I called my attorney who had handled my estate planning. He had retired and closed his practice. I was alone, isolated, cut off from my money, my property, my independence. This went on for 3 months. 3 months of me in this facility while Sarah visited once a week saying everything was being handled. "Don't worry, Dad. Marcus is taking care of everything." Then, one day, one of the staff members, a nurse named Patricia, came to my room. She looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Harrison," she said quietly, "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I thought you should know. Your son-in-law was here yesterday meeting with the director. I overheard them talking. He asked about long-term commitment procedures, about what it would take to have you declared incompetent permanently. My blood went cold." "What did the director say?" I asked. She said she couldn't support that. That you're clearly competent, that you don't belong here. But your son-in-law said he would find a doctor who would sign the papers, that it was just a matter of time. Patricia looked at me with pity. "I'm sorry. I thought you should know." After she left, I sat in my room and thought about everything that had happened. The pressure from Sarah and Marcus to move here, the forged admission papers, the power of attorney I never signed, Marcus taking over my properties. And now this. Marcus was trying to have me declared permanently incompetent so he could control my assets forever. I'm a judge. I spent 40 years in family court. I've seen this exact scenario dozens of times. Elder financial exploitation. Adult children or their spouses manipulating elderly parents to gain control of their assets. Isolation. Gaslighting. False medical claims. Forged documents. I had ruled on cases just like this. I had sent people to prison for doing exactly what Marcus was doing to me. And now I was the victim. But I was also a judge. I knew the law, I knew the system, and I knew how to fight back. I spent the next week planning the way I used to plan complicated custody cases when I was on the bench. Methodically, carefully, considering every angle, every possible move and countermove, every legal strategy and defense. First, I needed to get out of Riverside. That meant proving I was competent. That meant an emergency hearing before a judge. That meant I needed an attorney who specialized in elder law and who could move quickly. Second, I needed to regain control of my assets. That meant revoking the fraudulent power of attorney. That meant freezing Marcus's access to my accounts and properties. That meant unwinding any transactions he had already made. Third, I needed to expose what Marcus had done. Not just to get my money back, but to make sure he faced criminal consequences, fraud, forgery, theft, financial exploitation. These were serious crimes. He needed to go to prison. Fourth, I needed to protect Sarah from her husband's manipulation because, despite everything, she was still my daughter. She was a victim too. Marcus had used her love for me to hurt me. He had lied to her, manipulated her, made her complicit in his crimes. She would have to face consequences for her actions, but I needed to make sure those consequences were fair, that they recognized she had been manipulated. I made a list. I wrote down everything I knew, every conversation, every document I had signed or been tricked into signing, every red flag I had ignored, every warning sign Marcus had shown me over the years. I wrote down names, people who could help me, former colleagues, attorneys I had worked with, judges who knew me and trusted me, people who would believe me over Marcus. I wrote down what I needed to prove, that I was competent, that I had been tricked, that Marcus had forged documents, that he had taken my money without authorization, that he had isolated me and tried to have me declared incompetent. I needed evidence, documentation, witnesses. I needed to build a case the way I had taught young lawyers to build cases for 40 years, every fact supported by evidence, every claim backed by documentation, every witness prepared and credible. This wasn't just about getting out of Riverside. This wasn't just about getting my money back. This was about justice, about making sure that what Marcus did to me didn't happen to someone else, about using my knowledge and experience and connections to fight back against elder abuse. I was 70 years old. I had been humiliated, trapped, robbed, but I was still a judge. I still had my mind, my knowledge, my determination, and I was going to destroy Marcus Webb. I started with phone calls. I called the clerk's office at the courthouse where I had served for 40 years. I asked to speak to Judge Patricia Morrison, who had been my law clerk 20 years ago and was now a sitting judge. Judge Morrison took my call immediately. "Judge Harrison," she said warmly. "How are you?" "I need help," I told her, and I explained everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then Judge Morrison said, "That son of a bitch, give me 24 hours. The next day, a woman I didn't know came to Riverside. She was in her mid-40s, wearing a sharp business suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She introduced herself as Catherine Blake, attorney at law. "Judge Morrison sent me," she said. "I specialize in elder law and fiduciary abuse. I've been doing this for 20 years, and Judge Morrison told me that if anyone could spot elder exploitation, it would be me. She said you were one of the best judges she ever worked for. That if you say something wrong happened, something wrong happened. I need you to tell me everything, starting from the beginning. Don't leave anything out." For 2 hours, I told Catherine everything, every detail, every conversation, every document, every suspicion. I told her about Marcus's questions over the years, about the pressure campaign Sarah and Marcus had waged, about the fake incident where they claimed I was wandering, about being tricked into signing documents at Riverside, about the forged power of attorney, about Marcus taking over my properties, about the nurse Patricia overhearing Marcus ask about permanent incompetency procedures. Catherine took notes in a leather-bound notebook. She asked clarifying questions, specific questions that showed she knew exactly what she was looking for. "When did you first notice the pressure increasing? Did you ever give Marcus permission to access your bank accounts? Did you read the documents before signing them at Riverside? Were there any witnesses to your conversations with Sarah and Marcus? Do you have any documentation of your financial transactions before Marcus took over? Can you name specific people who can attest to your competency?" I answered every question, gave her names, dates, details, evidence. When I finished, she looked up from her notes and smiled. "Judge Harrison," she said, "you're not incompetent. You're sharp as a tack. You remember details most people half your age wouldn't remember. You understand complex legal concepts. You're articulate and clear-thinking. What's been done to you is illegal on multiple levels: fraud, forgery, false imprisonment, financial exploitation, possibly even attempted kidnapping. We're going to get you out of here and we're going to destroy Marcus Webb. But I need to be honest with you about something." "What?" I asked. "This is going to be hard," she said. "Marcus has positioned himself well. He has documents with your signature on them, even if they're forged. He has your daughter backing his story. He has you physically in a care facility, which gives his incompetency claims some surface credibility. We're going to have to prove that you're competent, that the documents are fraudulent, and that Marcus has been stealing from you. That's a tall order. Can you do it? I asked. Catherine looked me in the eyes. Yes, because I have something Marcus doesn't have. What's that? The truth. And 40 years of judges and attorneys who know your reputation and will testify to your competency. Marcus made a mistake when he targeted a retired judge. You have credibility he can't attack. You have connections he doesn't have. And you have legal knowledge that makes you a formidable opponent. She pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Here's what we're going to do. Emergency hearing to evaluate your competency and revoke the fraudulent power of attorney. I'll file the petition tomorrow. We'll need medical documentation showing you're competent. I'll arrange for an independent psychiatric evaluation. We'll need witnesses who can testify to your mental state. I'll subpoena your doctor, and I'll line up character witnesses from the bench. How long will it take? I asked. 3 days, Catherine said. Maybe 4. I can have it on the docket by Friday. Judge Morrison is helping coordinate with the court. You still have friends on the bench, Judge Harrison. A lot of them, and they're angry about what's happened to you. Then what? I asked. Then we file criminal charges, Catherine said. I'm going to contact the county attorney's office myself. I've worked with them on elder abuse cases before. Once we establish that you're competent and that Marcus had no legal authority to control your assets, everything he's done becomes criminal. If he's sold any properties, we void the sales. If he's taken money, we get it back with interest. If he's forged documents, he goes to prison. And what about Sarah? I asked quietly. Catherine's expression softened. That's going to depend on her level of involvement. If she genuinely believed you were incompetent and needed help, she may have a defense. If she knew Marcus was defrauding you and participated anyway, she could face charges too. But from what you've told me, it sounds like she was manipulated. We'll try to protect her as much as we can, but Sarah is an adult who participated in having you committed. She may face consequences. That's something you'll need to prepare for. I nodded. I understood. My daughter had betrayed me. Even if she had been manipulated, she had still made choices. She had still signed documents. She had still left me here while Marcus stole from me. There would be consequences. Do it, I said. Get me out of here. Catherine stood up and shook my hand. Her grip was firm, confident. Judge Harrison, she said, you're going to be fine. We're going to fix this. And Marcus Webb is going to regret the day he ever heard your name. The emergency competency hearing was scheduled for Friday morning at 9 a.m. Catherine filed the petition on Tuesday afternoon. By Wednesday morning, Marcus knew something was wrong. He showed up at Riverside in a panic. Where is William? He demanded at the front desk. I need to see him immediately. The director called my room. Your son-in-law is here, she said. Do you want to see him? No, I said. Tell him I'm unavailable. 10 minutes later, Marcus was pounding on my door. William, he shouted, open this door. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Security escorted him out. That night, Sarah called me crying. Dad, what's going on? Marcus said you hired a lawyer, that you were accusing us of terrible things. We were just trying to help you. Sarah, I said calmly, did you know that Marcus forged my signature on power of attorney documents? No, she said. You signed them at the facility. Did you know that Marcus is trying to have me declared permanently incompetent? That's not true, Sarah said. But her voice wavered. Did you know that Marcus has taken over my properties and my bank accounts without my permission? Dad, Marcus is managing things while you're getting better. You asked us to help. I never asked for any of this, I said. I was tricked, manipulated, and now I'm fixing it. You'll see the truth on Friday at the hearing. You should be there. The hearing was held at the Maricopa County Superior Court, the same courthouse where I had served for 40 years. I walked in with Catherine Blake. We were met by 3 of my former colleagues, judges who had served with me, who were there as character witnesses. Marcus showed up with his own attorney, a sleazy personal injury lawyer named Ronald Dwyer. Sarah came too, looking terrified and confused. The hearing was presided over by Judge Robert Chen, who had been appointed to the bench 5 years before I retired. We had worked together for 10 years. He knew me well. Catherine presented her case first. She called me to the stand. "Judge Harrison," she said, "can you tell the court what happened 18 months ago? I walked through everything. The pressure from Sarah and Marcus, the claims that I was declining, the trick to get me into Riverside, the forged power of attorney, the isolation, the attempt to have me declared incompetent." Catherine showed the court documents, the admission agreement with my signature that I never knowingly signed, the power of attorney documents with signatures that didn't match my handwriting, the bank records showing Marcus had transferred funds from my accounts into accounts he controlled. She called Patricia, the nurse from Riverside, who testified about overhearing Marcus ask about permanent commitment procedures. She called Dr. Richardson, my primary care physician, who testified that I was in excellent health and had no cognitive decline whatsoever. He was furious that his name had been used without his permission. She called 3 of my former judicial colleagues, who testified that I was sharp, engaged, and clearly competent. Then Marcus's attorney Ronald Dwyer tried to defend the indefensible. He argued that I had willingly signed all the documents, that I had asked for help managing my affairs, that Sarah and Marcus were acting in my best interests. He called Sarah to the stand. "Miss Webb," Dwyer said, "your father claims he was forced into Riverside against his will. Is that true?" Sarah looked miserable. "No," she said quietly. He agreed to go. "We were worried about him. He was having memory problems." "What memory problems specifically?" Catherine asked on cross-examination. Sarah hesitated. "He forgot things." "Like what?" Catherine pressed. "Can you give one specific example of something he forgot?" Sarah couldn't answer. Judge Chen leaned forward. "Miss Webb," he said, "did you witness any actual memory problems? Or were you told by your husband that your father had memory problems?" Sarah started crying. "Marcus told me," she whispered. "He said Dad was declining, that it was dangerous for him to live alone." "But you never witnessed this yourself?" "No," Sarah admitted. Then Judge Chen turned to Marcus. "Mr. Webb," he said coldly, "I'm going to ask you directly. Did you forge Judge Harrison's signature on power of attorney documents?" "No," Marcus said, "but he was sweating." "Did you trick Judge Harrison into signing admission papers at Riverside by telling him it was a visitor log?" "No." Judge Chen pulled out a document. "This is the visitor log from that day at Riverside," he said. "This is what Judge Harrison actually signed. How do you explain the fact that an admission agreement has a signature that looks similar but is on a completely different document?" Marcus said nothing. "Did you attempt to have Judge Harrison declared permanently incompetent so you could maintain control of his assets?" "No." Judge Chen looked at him with disgust. "I've been a judge for 15 years, he said. "Before that, I practiced law for 20 years. I know when someone is lying." "Mr. Webb, you're lying." He turned to the court reporter. "Let the record show that the court finds Mr. Marcus Webb's testimony to be not credible." Judge Chen issued his ruling from the bench. "It is the finding of this court that Judge William Harrison is fully competent, that he was fraudulently admitted to Riverside Senior Living through forged documents, that his power of attorney was obtained through fraud and is hereby revoked effective immediately, that all transactions made by Marcus Webb using said power of attorney are void." and that this matter should be referred to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Furthermore, Judge Harrison is ordered released from Riverside immediately and is free to return to his home. This hearing, is adjourned. I walked out of that courtroom, a free man. Sarah was crying in the hallway. "Dad," she said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought Marcus was helping you." I looked at my daughter. The daughter I had raised. The daughter I loved. The daughter who had been manipulated by her husband into betraying me. "I know," I said. "We'll talk later. Right now I need to deal with Marcus." Marcus tried to leave quickly, but 2 sheriff's deputies stopped him at the exit. "Marcus Webb," one of them said, "we need you to come with us. The county attorney wants to ask you some questions." Marcus was arrested that afternoon, charged with fraud, forgery, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and theft. His bail was set at $250,000. He couldn't make it. He sat in jail for 3 weeks before his parents finally scraped together the bail money. Meanwhile, I went home. My house was exactly as I had left it 18 months ago. Sarah had the locks changed, so Catherine got a court order allowing me access. A locksmith came and changed the locks again. New keys. My keys. I walked through the rooms where Margaret and I had raised Sarah, where we had celebrated holidays and birthdays and anniversaries, where we had grown old together. The furniture was covered in a thin layer of dust. The plants Margaret had loved were dead. The mail had piled up, even though Sarah was supposed to be checking it. But everything else was the same. My chair in the living room, the books on the shelves, the photos on the walls. I sat in my chair and felt a wave of relief wash over me. I was home. I was free, but I still had work to do. A lot of work. Catherine began the process of unwinding Marcus's transactions. In the 18 months I was at Riverside, Marcus had been very busy, very greedy, very stupid. He had sold one of my rental houses, a 3-bedroom property in Tempe that I had owned for 20 years, for $350,000. The sale closed 4 months after he put me in Riverside. The buyers were a young couple expecting their first child. They had no idea the sale was fraudulent. Marcus had forged my signature on all the closing documents. He had hired a notary who didn't properly verify identity. He had pocketed the entire $350,000. He had taken out a home equity line of credit on another rental property for $200,000. Again, forged signatures. The bank had been negligent in verifying the documents. Marcus took the $200,000 in cash, and the bank had a lien on my property. He had drained $40,000 from my personal savings accounts by transferring money into accounts he had opened in his name with my information. Identity theft, wire fraud, multiple crimes. He had stopped collecting rent on all 4 rental properties. Instead of depositing the rent into my business account, he had redirected the tenants to send rent payments to a new account he controlled. Over 18 months, he had stolen approximately $90,000 in rent payments. He had used one of my credit cards to charge $30,000 in personal expenses, luxury purchases, a Rolex watch, designer clothes, dinners at expensive restaurants, a trip to Hawaii with Sarah. He had even tried to take out a reverse mortgage on my primary residence. That transaction had been stopped when the title company called the phone number on file and reached Riverside instead of me. The director had told them I was in a care facility, and the transaction was flagged as suspicious. That was the only transaction that failed. Everything else Marcus had gotten away with. Total theft, over $710,000. Catherine was methodical. She filed civil suits to void the property sale. We sued the buyers, but also the title company, and the notary who had failed to properly verify signatures. We argued that the sale was fraudulent because Marcus had no legal authority to sell my property. The buyers were devastated. They had a new baby. They had put their life savings into this house. They had done nothing wrong. Their attorney reviewed the case and advised them that fighting would be expensive and they would lose. They agreed to settle. They would get their house money back from the title company's errors and omissions insurance and from Marcus's personal assets. We would get the property back. It took 4 months, but we did it. Catherine filed criminal complaints against the notary for failing to properly verify identity. The notary lost her license. The bank that issued the fraudulent home equity loan was more difficult. They argued that they had followed proper procedures. Catherine proved they hadn't. Showed that the signature on the loan documents didn't match my signature on file. Showed that they had failed to verify employment, income, or the borrower's identity. Threatened to report them to banking regulators. They agreed to settle. They wrote off the $200,000 loan and removed the lien from my property. Catherine forced Marcus to account for every penny he had taken. We got court orders freezing his accounts, his personal checking, his savings, his investment accounts, everything. We discovered he had spent the money faster than he had stolen it. A new BMW, purchased with cash, $70,000. Gambling debts to a casino in Las Vegas, $80,000. Expensive jewelry for himself and Sarah, $50,000. Credit card debt from a lifestyle he couldn't afford, $120,000. Payments to his parents for loans they had given him, $60,000. The rest, gone. Spent on restaurants, clothes, trips, and living beyond his means while pretending to be a successful financial advisor. Catherine hired a forensic accountant named Robert Chen, who had worked on fraud cases for 30 years. Robert traced every dollar, every transaction, every account. He created charts and graphs and timelines showing exactly where my money had gone. This documentation would be crucial for the criminal trial. We filed liens against everything Marcus owned. The BMW, his watch, his furniture, everything. We filed judgments against his future earnings. If he ever got out of prison and got a job, we would garnish his wages until every penny was repaid. We went after his parents, too. They had received $60,000 from Marcus, knowing it came from stolen money. They claimed they didn't know, but Catherine proved they did. Marcus had told his father he was managing my properties. His father, a retired accountant, should have known that didn't give Marcus the right to take money for himself. They settled, agreed to pay back $30,000 immediately, and the rest over 5 years. The criminal case moved forward, quickly. The county attorney, Lisa Rodriguez, was aggressive and passionate. She had worked in my courtroom 15 years ago as a young prosecutor fresh out of law school. She remembered me. She had learned from me, and she was furious about what Marcus had done. "Judge Harrison," she told me at our first meeting, "I became a prosecutor because of you, because of the way you fought for victims in family court, the way you held perpetrators accountable, the way you never let anyone intimidate you. I'm going to destroy Marcus Webb for what he did to you. I'm going to make sure he spends years in prison. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what he is. A predator, a thief, a con artist who targeted his own family." She meant every word. The trial was scheduled for 8 months later. In the meantime, I focused on rebuilding my life. I reconnected with friends who Marcus had isolated me from. I resumed my volunteer work at the law school. I went back to managing my rental properties. I played tennis again. I felt alive again. Sarah came to see me 1 month after the hearing. She looked terrible, thin, exhausted. We sat on my back patio. "Dad," she said, "I filed for divorce. I'm so sorry for everything. I should have believed you. I should have questioned Marcus. But he was so convincing. He said you were sick, that you needed help. I trusted him." "I know," I said. "Catherine says I might face charges too," Sarah said, "for helping Marcus put you in Riverside, for signing documents. I've been so scared. Have you done anything to profit from what Marcus did?" I asked. "No," Sarah said. I didn't know about any of the money. Marcus kept all of it. He told me he was just managing your properties. I didn't see any of the money he stole." "Then you're probably okay," I said. "You were manipulated. You're a victim too." "But Sarah, you need to understand something. You betrayed me. You're my daughter and you put me in a nursing home based on lies. That's going to take time to forgive." "I know," Sarah said. She was crying. "I understand if you never forgive me. I love you, Dad. I'm so sorry." We started rebuilding our relationship slowly. Sarah moved out of the house she had shared with Marcus and got an apartment. She got a job. She started therapy. We had dinner once a month. It was awkward at first, but gradually we found our way back to each other. Not the same relationship as before, but something new, something built on honesty. The trial began on a Tuesday in March. I sat in the gallery watching Marcus Webb face justice in the same courthouse where I had served for 40 years. Lisa Rodriguez was brilliant. She walked the jury through every detail of Marcus's scheme. How he had manipulated Sarah into believing I was declining. How he had tricked me into signing documents. How he had forged power of attorney papers. How he had stolen over $600,000. She showed the jury bank records, property records, forged signatures. She called witnesses. Sarah testified against Marcus. She explained how he had manipulated her, how he had lied to her, how he had used her love for me against me. She cried on the stand. The jury believed her. I testified about my experience, about being tricked, about being locked in Riverside, about watching my life and my assets being stolen while I was powerless to stop it. Marcus's defense was weak. His attorney tried to argue that Marcus had been trying to help, that he had made mistakes but had no criminal intent. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts: fraud, forgery, theft, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The judge, a woman named Sandra Martinez, who had clerked for me 25 years ago, sentenced Marcus to 8 years in state prison, full restitution of $623,000, and a permanent restraining order prohibiting him from ever contacting me or Sarah again. Marcus was taken away in handcuffs. I felt no satisfaction, no joy, just a tired sense that justice had been served. Sarah's divorce from Marcus was finalized 6 months after his conviction. She got nothing from the marriage except debt. Marcus had spent everything. His parents had to sell their house to pay for his legal defense and part of the restitution. Sarah came to me one day and said, "Dad, I want to pay you back for what Marcus stole, for what I let happen." "You didn't steal anything," I said. "You don't owe me money." "But I owe you an apology," Sarah said. "A real one, not just words. I want to show you that I understand what I did wrong." "How?" I asked. "I want to volunteer at the Elder Rights Project," Sarah said. "I want to help other seniors who are being exploited by their families. I want to do something good with what happened to us." I looked at my daughter, and I felt proud of her for the first time in 2 years. "That's a good idea," I said. "That's a very good idea." Now, 3 years after Marcus put me in Riverside, I'm 73 years old. I'm still living in my house in Scottsdale. I still own all 5 of my properties. I got every penny back that Marcus stole, plus interest and penalties. Sarah is now the executive director of the Elder Rights Project, a nonprofit organization that helps seniors fight financial exploitation. She's excellent at it. She uses her experience, her pain, her guilt to help others avoid what happened to me. We have dinner every week now. Our relationship isn't perfect, but it's real, honest, built on truth rather than manipulation. I've given her my blessing that she will eventually inherit everything when I die, but not until I die. And I plan to live a very long time. Marcus is still in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 4 years. Sarah and I have both written letters to the parole board saying he should serve his full sentence. I hope he does. Every single day, I've started giving talks at legal conferences and senior centers about elder financial exploitation, about how it happens, how to prevent it, how to recognize the warning signs, how to fight back if it happens to you. I tell my story. I warn families. I educate lawyers and judges and social workers. If I can help even one person avoid what happened to me, then everything I went through was worth it. The thing about being a victim of elder abuse is that people assume you're helpless, weak, confused, incompetent. They underestimate you. Marcus underestimated me. He saw a 70-year-old man living alone after his wife died and thought I was an easy target. Easy money. He forgot that I was a judge, that I knew the law better than most attorneys, that I had spent 40 years in the system building relationships and earning respect, that I had connections at every level, that I had knowledge and power even when I appeared powerless. He thought he could steal my life, my money, my independence, my dignity. Instead, I took his freedom. I took his reputation. I took his future. And I made sure everyone knew exactly what he had done. If you're watching this video, I want you to know something important. If you're elderly and you think your family is taking advantage of you, trust your instincts. You're probably right. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking you're confused or paranoid or losing your mind. You know your own mind. Trust yourself. Document everything. Keep records of your finances. Keep copies of documents. Write down conversations. Take notes with dates and times. Evidence is everything. Don't sign anything you don't fully understand. Read every word. Ask questions. Get independent legal advice before signing power of attorney or any legal documents. And never, ever sign anything under pressure. And if you discover that you're being exploited, fight back. Immediately. Get a lawyer who specializes in elder law. Call Adult Protective Services. Go to the courthouse and file a petition. Contact the police. Report financial crimes to the district attorney. Don't wait. Don't hope it will get better. It won't. It will only get worse. You have rights. Legal rights. Constitutional rights. Human rights. You have the right to control your own money, to make your own decisions, to live where you want to live, to manage your own life. Don't let anyone take those rights away from you. I was lucky. I had legal knowledge and professional connections that helped me fight back. But you don't need to be a judge to protect yourself. You just need to be brave enough to speak up, to say no, to demand help, to refuse to be a victim. Elder abuse is a crime. Financial exploitation is a crime. False imprisonment is a crime. Forgery is a crime. The people who do these things belong in prison. Don't let anyone convince you that you're too old or too confused or too weak to fight back. You're not. You're strong. You're competent. You're worthy of respect and dignity. And you deserve justice. Thank you for watching my story. I hope it helps someone out there who's going through something similar. I hope it gives you courage to fight back. I hope it reminds you that you're never too old to demand justice and reclaim your life. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'd love to know how far this message can travel. Share this video with any elderly people in your life who might need to hear it. God bless you all. And remember, you are stronger than anyone gives you credit for. You are smarter than they think. You are more capable than they believe. And you deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, and love. Never forget that. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. On the end screen, I'm leaving you 2 more stories from this channel that I think you'll find powerful and inspiring. They're about ordinary people who faced extraordinary challenges and came out victorious. Thank you for staying until the end. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight.